Officer Marcus Reed had been a cop for 12 years, but he'd only felt truly alive for the last 4, ever since a 70-pound ball of black and tan fur bounded into his life at the K-9 Academy. Titan wasn't just his partner. He was the one soul in the world who never questioned Marcus's worth, never judged his failures, never asked why he kept everyone else at arm's length. Tonight, what started as a routine 2 a.m. traffic stop on a deserted industrial road would test everything they'd built together. In the 3 seconds between the muzzle flash and Marcus hitting the pavement, Titan made a decision no amount of training could teach. He chose love over survival. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. And if this story moves you, please subscribe and follow the journey until the very end. Let's see how far this story travels together. The Dodge Charger's left tail light was out. Tags expired by 3 months. Marcus Reed hit the lights at 2:07 a.m. on a stretch of Industrial Boulevard where the warehouses stood dark and the street lamps flickered more than they illuminated. Routine stop. The kind he'd done 10,000 times in 12 years. Behind him, Titan shifted in the patrol SUV, ears pricking forward. The dog knew the rhythm of these nights, as well as Marcus did the crackle of the radio, the brief surge of adrenaline, then back to cruising empty streets until dawn. Marcus approached the driver's window, left hand resting near his weapon with the casual readiness that had become muscle memory. The practiced greeting died on his lips when he saw the driver. Mid-40s, skeletal thin, sweating despite the February cold seeping through the cracked window. The man's eyes wouldn't settle, darting from Marcus to the rearview mirror to the glove box. Evening, license and registration, please. Yeah, sure. The man's voice cracked. His hand trembled toward the glove box. From the SUV, Titan barked once, sharp, urgent. Marcus's hand moved to his weapon. But the glove box was already open, and the man's hand was coming back up, and there was metal catching the streetlight, and Marcus's mind registered gun times in the same instant the world exploded. The first shot punched through the window and caught Marcus high on the left shoulder, spinning him backward. He stumbled, tried to draw his weapon, couldn't make his arm work right. The driver, Raymond Hollis, though Marcus would only learn his name later, burst from the car, weapon raised for the second shot, for the kill shot. Time fractured into slow motion. Marcus saw Ray's finger tightening on the trigger, saw the barrel aimed at his chest, saw his own death in the next half second. Then Titan came through the SUV's window, the window Marcus had left cracked, because Titan, like the cold air, came through it, like 70 pounds of black and tan fury, ears flat, teeth bared. But not going for Ray's gun arm the way they'd trained for 4 years. Not executing the textbook apprehension. Instead, Titan launched himself at the space between the gun barrel and Marcus's heart. The second shot caught the dog mid-leap. Titan's body slammed into Marcus, and they went down together on the cold pavement, tangled and bleeding. The German Shepherd's weight pressing Marcus down, while above them, Ray Hollis stood with his gun, still smoking, looking almost surprised at what he'd just done. Marcus's hand found Titan's fur, warm and sticky with blood, and the dog's dark eyes found his. And in that moment, Marcus understood what unconditional love looked like when it was willing to die. Marcus Reed stood in the K-9 training facility in Aurora with his arms crossed and his jaw tight, watching a dozen German Shepherds weave through cones in perfect synchronization. He didn't want to be here. Didn't want another partner of any kind. You're not a team player, Reed. Captain Morrison had said 3 days ago, the words landing with the weight of final judgment. Maybe you'd work better with something that doesn't talk back. It was meant as criticism. Marcus took it as permission. People lie. People leave. People look at you with disappointment when you can't give them whatever piece of yourself they think they deserve. His divorce had finalized 6 months ago. Sarah's final words still echoing in the silent spaces of his apartment. Asterisk, you're a good man, Marcus, but you won't let anyone see it. I can't fight your walls anymore. Asterisk. She was right. He had walls. Good walls. Walls that kept him functional, kept him breathing, kept him showing up for work every day even when the weight of his own isolation felt like drowning in slow motion. Now he watched the dogs, and one of them watched him back. A 2-year-old male, darker than the others, coat almost sable in the fluorescent lights. The dog executed a perfect heel command, but his eyes never left Marcus, intense, assessing. Like he was measuring something the other dogs couldn't see. "That's Titan," said Officer Rodriguez, appearing at Marcus's elbow. The trainer had kind eyes that had seen too much. "You interested?" "Aggressive name for an aggressive dog?" Rodriguez smiled, but it didn't reach those tired eyes. "Actually, he's the most loyal one here. Failed his first placement because he bonded too hard with his original handler, got protective, wouldn't let anyone else near the guy. We're trying to retrain him to be more professional." Marcus looked at Titan. Titan looked at Marcus. Something passed between them in that moment, some recognition that neither could name. Here was a creature who'd failed at keeping his distance, who'd loved too hard and been punished for it. "I'll take him," Marcus said. Rodriguez hesitated. "Reed, he needs someone who won't isolate him. These dogs need socialization, need to be around people, I'll take him." The trainer studied Marcus for a long moment, then nodded slowly. They signed papers, made arrangements, shook hands on a partnership neither fully understood yet. Walking out to his truck that afternoon, Marcus glanced back through the facility windows. Titan sat at attention, still watching him, waiting with the patience of something that had already decided who it belonged to. They were both wrong about what came next. Titan didn't need to be fixed. Marcus did. Marcus dragged himself behind the patrol SUV, his shoulders screaming with every inch of pavement. Warm blood soaked through his uniform, spreading dark across the Denver PD blue. 10 feet away, 10 feet that might as well have been 10 miles, Titan lay on his side, breathing shallow and fast, a dark pool spreading beneath his body. Ray Hollis had taken cover behind the Charger, 40 feet across the empty road. The industrial warehouses loomed around them like silent witnesses, their windows dark and uncaring. "You shot my dog," Marcus said, surprised by the steadiness of his own voice. His hand found his radio, fingers slippery with blood. 10 to 33, officer needs assistance, shots fired, K9 down, Industrial Boulevard and Fraser Street. The dispatcher's voice crackled back, professional calm barely masking stress. Units responding. ETA, 7 minutes. 7 minutes might as well be 7 hours. Marcus met Titan's eyes across the pavement. The dog whimpered, a sound that cut deeper than any bullet. Tried to rise, couldn't. His tail made one weak thump against the ground, and Marcus understood what it meant. Asterisk. "I'm sorry I failed you. I'm sorry I'm not getting up." Asterisk. Even now, even dying, Titan was trying to tell him it was okay. "Stay down, boy," Marcus whispered, though Titan couldn't possibly hear him over the ringing in his ears. "Please stay down." 2 shots exploded from behind the Charger, bullets spanging off the SUV's chassis, the sound sharp and metallic in the cold air. "I ain't going back," Ray's voice cracked with desperate fury. "I ain't going back to prison." Marcus checked his weapon with shaking hands. 11 rounds left. He was a decent shot on a good day, but this wasn't a good day. Ray had better cover, and Marcus was bleeding, his vision starting to shimmer at the edges like heat waves on summer asphalt. The shoulder wound burned. His left arm hung useless. Titan whimpered again. The sound broke something in Marcus's chest that he didn't know was still intact. Something buried beneath 12 years of careful distance and professional detachment. Something he'd sealed off when Sarah walked out, when his sister stopped calling, when he decided that isolation was just another word for safety. He looked at Titan bleeding out on cold pavement, tail still trying to wag, eyes still trusting that Marcus would fix this, would make it okay the way he always had. Except Marcus couldn't fix this, couldn't reach him, Couldn't stop the bleeding. Couldn't do anything but watch the only thing he'd allowed himself to love. In 4 years, die alone while he hid behind steel and waited for someone else to save them both. Training day 57, and it wasn't going well. Not because Titan couldn't perform. The dog was flawless in controlled environments, executing every command with precision that made the other handlers jealous. But in field simulations, when Marcus gave the command to apprehend a fleeing suspect, Titan hesitated every single time. He'd look back at Marcus instead of pursuing, dark eyes, searching, making sure his handler was safe before doing what he'd been trained to do. "He's checking on you," Rodriguez observed from the sideline, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "He thinks protecting you is more important than the objective." Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead. "That's wrong." "It's not police work," Rodriguez said carefully. "Canines are tools, Reed. Weapons. They go where we point them. Titan's treating you like pack, not partner." Marcus knelt in the dirt, called Titan close. The dog came immediately, pressing his full weight against Marcus's legs, tail wagging uncertainly. Waiting to be told he'd done something right, even though they both knew he hadn't. Marcus had been living alone since Sarah left, didn't talk to his sister anymore after she'd sided with his ex-wife during the divorce. Kept his co-workers at professional distance, declining their invitations to drinks, to barbecues, to anything that required him to pretend he was whole. His apartment was silent, except for the sound of his own breathing, his own footsteps echoing on hardwood floors. Until Titan. Now there was someone who greeted him at the door like his arrival was the best thing that had happened all day. Someone who sat close on the couch while Marcus drank beer and watched baseball, not asking for conversation, just offering warm presence. Someone who slept at the foot of his bed and seemed genuinely devastated by Marcus's 30-second absences to grab the mail, greeting his return with the enthusiasm most people reserved for reunions at airports. Marcus looked down at Titan's trusting eyes and thought about what Rodriguez had said. Asterisk. Tools. Weapons. They go where we point them. Asterisk. Maybe he's got the right idea, Marcus muttered. What? Rodriguez asked. Nothing. But something shifted in Marcus that day. Maybe Titan's flaw wasn't a flaw at all. Maybe loving something more than the objective, caring about someone's safety more than following orders. Maybe that wasn't weakness. Maybe they were both just broken in matching ways, and that was its own kind of perfection. Two damaged things that fit together because their jagged edges aligned. They recertified 3 weeks later. Titan still hesitated sometimes, still checked on Marcus before completing commands. Marcus didn't report it in his training log. Neither did Rodriguez. Marcus had managed to slow his shoulder wound with his belt cinched tight as a tourniquet, but the world tilted sideways every time he moved. Lightheaded, hands shaking. 4 minutes until backup. 4 minutes that Titan didn't have. The dog's breathing had changed, faster, shallower, the sound of a machine running out of fuel. Dying. Marcus Reed. Ray's voice echoed across the empty road, manic and sharp. I looked you up on the computer in there. Divorced. No kids. Nobody waiting at home but that dog. Nobody'll miss you. It was true, and it cut deeper than the bullet in his shoulder. Ray fired again, closer this time, testing Marcus's position. The bullet sparked off the pavement 3 feet to his left. If Ray flanked him, got the angle, it was over. Marcus would die behind this SUV, and Titan would die 10 feet away, and neither of them would have anyone to mourn them, except maybe Rodriguez, who'd seen this coming from the beginning. Marcus looked at Titan again. In the dog's dark eyes, there was no accusation, no regret for the choice he'd made. Just trust. Absolute, unshakable trust that Marcus would make everything okay, the way he always had. The way he'd done for 4 years, coming home every night, filling the food bowl, throwing the tennis ball until his arm ached, scratching behind Titan's ears while they watched television in comfortable silence. Except Marcus couldn't make this okay. He couldn't reach Titan without exposing himself to Ray's fire, couldn't treat the wound, couldn't even comfort him in his final moments. All he could do was watch his only friend die alone on cold pavement, while Marcus hid behind steel and bled and waited for someone else to fix what he'd broken. And suddenly Marcus was furious. Not at Ray, at himself. For hiding, for choosing a dog because dogs were safer than people, because they didn't ask questions, didn't demand vulnerability, didn't leave divorce papers on the kitchen counter. For convincing himself that isolation was strength, that walls were wisdom, that not feeling anything was better than risking everything. Titan didn't leap in front of that bullet because of training. He did it because love. Real, stupid, impossible love doesn't calculate odds or measure risks or count the cost. It just acts. Marcus keyed his radio again. Dispatch, suspect is armed and attempting to flank my position. I'm going to engage. -4. Adam, 1, 2, wait for backup. Marcus didn't respond. He checked his weapon one more time. 11 rounds, one good arm, vision swimming, odds approaching 0. Then he stood up. Final certification day arrived with the weight of judgment. Marcus and Titan had to pass a complex scenario, pursue a suspect through an obstacle course, apprehend him, then hold position, while civilians, trainers in disguise, tried to interfere. It was designed to test the dog's focus under chaos, his ability to maintain the objective when everything around him screamed distraction. They were doing perfectly. Titan tracked the suspect through the course with precision, cornered him behind a plywood barrier, made the takedown with controlled aggression. Marcus approached to make the arrest, feeling something close to pride for the first time in months. That's when Rodriguez, playing a civilian, ran toward them shouting and waving his arms. It was a distraction. Titan was supposed to ignore it, maintain the apprehend, prove he could hold focus under pressure. Instead, Titan released the suspect, spun toward Rodriguez, and interposed himself between the threat and Marcus. Automatic failure. In the debrief room, Marcus sat silent while Rodriguez explained to the evaluators that Titan couldn't be certified if he wouldn't complete basic commands. The other trainers nodded, made notes on clipboards, discussed reassignment options in voices that pretended Marcus wasn't sitting right there. He did complete it, Marcus finally said. The room went quiet. The command is to protect, Marcus continued. That's what he did. The command was to apprehend and hold, Rodriguez said carefully. And when he perceived a threat to his handler, he chose the more important objective. That's not failure, that's judgment. Rodriguez sighed, the sound of a man who'd had this argument before and lost. Marcus, you can't graduate with a dog who won't follow orders. Marcus met his eyes. Then I won't graduate. 3 days of meetings followed. Calls to the K9 program director. Heated discussions about protocol and precedent and what it meant to certify a team that didn't fit the manual. Finally, a compromise. One more test. Modified scenario. Last chance. This time, when the civilian interfered, Rodriguez whispered to Marcus, "Give him permission." Marcus understood. Titan, guard. And Titan understood too, standing protectively close while Marcus handled the situation, maintaining his position without abandoning his primary mission, keeping Marcus safe. They passed, barely. Walking back to the car afterward, Marcus realized something that should have been obvious from the beginning. Titan wasn't the one failing to follow the rules. The rules had failed to account for something more important than procedure, the bond that made the work matter at all. Rodriguez caught up to him in the parking lot, said nothing, just handed Marcus the certification paperwork. Their eyes met. "Thanks," Marcus said. Rodriguez nodded once. "Don't make me regret it." He never did. Marcus stepped into the open, weapon raised in his one good hand. Ray saw him immediately, brought his gun around. For a frozen instant, they faced each other across 40 feet of empty road, two men with everything to lose and nothing left to bargain with. Marcus fired first. 2 rounds. One caught Ray in the leg, spinning him sideways. The other missed high, sparking off the Charger's roof. Ray returned fire, wild and panicked, the shots of a desperate man with failing options. One bullet caught Marcus in the side, below the ribs, punching through with the force of a sledgehammer. Marcus went down hard. Hit the pavement next to Titan, their blood mixing on the cold asphalt. The dog's eyes found his, and up close, Marcus could see everything. The chest wound still bleeding, the labored breathing, the life draining out with every shallow gasp. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered. "I'm so sorry, boy." Titan's tail gave one weak wag against the pavement. No blame. Never any blame. Ray was screaming now, wounded but still armed, trying to stand on his ruined leg. Marcus raised his weapon again, sights wavering, the gun impossibly heavy in his hand. His vision was tunneling, edges going dark like someone was slowly closing curtains. He was losing too much blood, couldn't focus, couldn't make the shot. Ray steadied himself against the Charger, aimed. This is it, Marcus thought. This is how it ends. Then, sirens. Distant but getting closer. Back up maybe 2 minutes out. The cavalry finally coming over the hill, too late to matter. Ray heard them too. For a moment, Marcus thought he might run, might take whatever chance remained to disappear into the industrial maze. Instead, Ray raised his weapon one more time. Aimed at Titan. "Your dog dies first," Ray snarled. And something ancient and primal ignited in Marcus Reed. Something that had nothing to do with training or protocol or 12 years of professional detachment. Something that came from a place deeper than thought, older than civilization. He surged upward, ignoring the agony exploding through his side, and fired. 4 shots in rapid succession. One caught Ray in the shoulder, another in the chest. The third went wide. The fourth hit center mass. Ray dropped like a puppet with cut strings. Marcus collapsed back beside Titan, weapon falling from nerveless fingers. The sirens were closer now, red and blue lights painting the warehouses, painting the blood, painting everything in the colors of salvation that came too late. Titan's head turned slightly, nuzzling against Marcus's hand. "Stay with me," Marcus said, his voice breaking on the words. "Please, please stay with me." The cavalry arrived like thunder. 3 patrol units, 2 ambulances, lights painting the industrial buildings in red and blue, turning the blood on the pavement into something almost beautiful. Paramedics swarmed Marcus, hands reaching for him, voices urgent and professional. He fought them off, one arm flailing weakly, pointing to Titan. "The dog first. Save the dog first." "Sir, you're critical. We need to save the dog." His voice cracked on the words, raw and desperate, and something in his tone must have gotten through because they brought a veterinary emergency tech from animal control. She knelt beside Titan, working fast, pressure bandages and IV line, her hands steady and sure. Marcus watched through dimming vision as they stabilized his partner, watched Titan's chest rise and fall, still breathing, still fighting. Only then did he let the paramedics touch him. In the ambulance, they worked on him with focused efficiency, while a second ambulance rushed Titan to the emergency vet. Marcus's captain appeared at the door, face grim in the harsh fluorescent light. "Reed, suspect is down. Not dead. You did good." Marcus didn't feel good. He felt empty, like something essential had been scooped out of his chest and left bleeding on Industrial Boulevard. "Titan? Being treated. They think he'll make it. Bullet missed his heart by inches." Marcus closed his eyes, felt tears leak from the corners, didn't have the strength to hide them anymore. The paramedic inserted an IV. Someone mentioned surgery, blood loss, possible organ damage. The words washed over him like background noise. Marcus fumbled for his phone with his good hand, pulled up his contacts with trembling fingers. He hadn't called this number in 8 months. It rang 3 times, and he almost hung up, almost chickened out like he'd chickened out of everything else that mattered. "Marcus? It's 2 a.m. What's—" "Sarah." His voice broke completely. "I got shot. Titan got shot. And I think I understand now." Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, "Understand what?" "Why you left. Why everyone leaves. I've been so scared of losing anything that I wouldn't let myself have anything. Even Titan, I told myself he was just a partner, just a tool. But he took a bullet for me tonight, and He couldn't finish. Couldn't find words for what it meant to be loved like that, to be worth dying for when you'd spent years convinced you weren't worth staying for. Sarah's voice was gentle. "Where are you?" "Denver General, I think. They're taking me to surgery. I'll be there in 20 minutes. "You don't have to." "Marcus, I'll be there." Marcus sat in the canine facility kennels, shoulder in a sling, ribs still tender beneath the bandages wrapped around his torso. Titan lay on his side in the recovery kennel, cone around his neck, fresh bandages across his chest. The vet said full recovery would take months. Marcus visited twice a day. Today he'd brought something with him, a letter he was writing to the K9 program director. He read it aloud to Titan, who watched with dark, attentive eyes. "Dear Director Sanchez, I'm writing to recommend a change in how we evaluate K9 officer candidates and their partners. Current protocol emphasizes obedience and tactical precision. These are important. But they miss something crucial, the bond that makes this work sustainable. My partner Titan failed multiple evaluations because he prioritized my safety over tactical objectives. Traditional metrics called this a flaw, but on February 6th, that flaw saved my life." Titan's tail thumped weakly against the kennel floor. "He didn't leap in front of a bullet because of training. He did it because partners, real partners, protect each other. We spend so much time teaching dogs to be tools that we forget they're also souls. And the handlers who work best with them aren't the ones who maintain professional distance. They're the ones who admit what we all know, but don't say, 'We love these dogs.' They're not equipment. They're family." Marcus paused, throat tight. "I spent years hiding from that truth. Titan didn't. I'm recommending we start evaluating K9 teams not just on technical proficiency, but on bond strength. Because a dog who loves his handler will do things no amount of training can teach. And a handler who loves his dog will become something better than he was before." He reached through the bars, scratched behind Titan's ear. The wounds were healing, both of theirs. Outside, Marcus could hear voices Rodriguez talking with another handler about certification protocols. Through the window, he saw Sarah's car pull into the parking lot. She'd been coming by twice a week, not as an ex-wife, but as a friend. Maybe someday more, maybe not. Either way, Marcus wasn't hiding anymore. His sister had called yesterday. They were having dinner next week, first time in 3 years. The captain had offered him a commendation. Marcus declined, asked that it go to Titan instead. The department was commissioning a plaque. He finished the letter, folded it carefully. "You taught me something, boy," Marcus said quietly. "Love isn't weakness. Fear of love is. You were never broken. I was." Titan's tail thumped again. Outside, Sarah knocked on the kennel door, waved. Marcus waved back, felt something unfamiliar in his chest. Hope, maybe. The possibility of connection. The courage to try again. Because Titan didn't just save his life that night. He showed Marcus what a life could be if you were brave enough to let someone in. Even if it hurts. Especially if it hurts. He stood, winced at the pull in his ribs, and went to meet Sarah. Behind him, Titan settled into sleep, peaceful, trusting. Still protecting Marcus, even now. Still teaching him what it means to be alive.